put a different island top lane and then send all the resources bot or mid, I could understand it, but we haven't seen that materialize. Lock, by the way, did completely pass through the bans in the first game, is available. We have confirmed it. It was banned yesterday. Really curious to see if it comes up this time around. I felt like it would have gone exquisitely with what AL had drafted last time instead of a Cassio. And now we have to see if Mel soars in priority. You know, as far as the Mages bot go, that's the only one that in the past, 6 seasons, either of these two have any experience on, and it is Gala in the previous split. So we'll have to find out if that is something that these two teams value, or if they're more in the camp of, let's go back to normal. We don't need to think about mages anymore.
Still some decent AD carries available for the taking. Victor going to get selected in response to that Vi. And the Jarvan, so a very quick 1-2 here for JD Gaming. Remember, this Jarvan was banned against him in game number 1, so going to take that while it is available. A very strong mid-jungle to open up this game for JD Gaming.
Yeah, having the ability to buffer out of the Vi ultimate is quite important, leaving her in a cage of her own. And now the question is, well, do AL match here? Do they take solo lanes? It looks like instead we're going to be swinging it over, probably, yep, Lucian Milio. Very standard issue. Your ADC can get out of the Jarvan cage. Your support cannot. Just means that Kael's going to have to play at a very respectful distance. This is one of his most played champions with the Bard and the Seraphine from last split. So very, very experienced on it. It's something that can get an incredible amount done. Very much a pivot from the abandoned lane go elsewhere of game 1.
And when AL locks Lucian, it almost always goes with the Milio, especially with some of the changes to Nami in recent splits with Imperial Mandate update. It's going to be the finishing off of that hot pot duo with the Rumble locked in for Xiaoxu, one of his most played champions throughout last split as well, pairing alongside that Jarvan very nicely. Looks like JD Gaming going for that full-on team fight here in this second matchup.
Does very well for the champions that want to run at you. The Victor in particular is super, super good for that. And now as we pan over to the bans, it's getting rid of those standards counter picks. We already got rid of the Galio in the first rotation. I'm expecting something like an Ornn also taken off the table by JDG to protect Xiaoxu in the top lane. Then it comes down to a more niche, what do you think is your best chance to survive the Rumble in lane for Breathe? A lot of these tanks off the table. Sion is still up, but not one of the favorites. Actually taking away the Akali. That is an interesting one to try and buy HongQ a bit more safety in the mid lane and the side lane as the game goes on.
Spanned away from Shanks in game 1 too, so not surprised to see this mid laner for AL take a lot of that attention here in the draft. Maybe another ban towards Gala, or just for Vampire as well. The Nautilus, in a way, kind of disincentivizes a pick like the Kaisa, but there also are other matchups that you can go with that duo lane. A lot of different things have been kind of this answer to the Lucian Milio. Wonder if maybe something like a Senna lane pops up here for JD Gaming to wrap up their draft.
I could also see a Braum angle on the table, something that can eat up a lot of that Lucian's pressure. And the fact that you've got the Vi as well, AL have already pretty heavily committed to diving in. Caitlyn, decent for leveraging the range gap, and at the end of the day, while there was a very minimal chance that the Victor could have been sent bot, when you've already got this double AP damage profile, having an AD bot is something you're going to be very happy to see. I was expecting something like the Aurora or the Ahri being two things that I would really be looking at for Shanks to take here. There are some good Sylas ults, but it's going to be a bit more dangerous in the lane phase. Will give HongQ a lot more breathing room and require Tarzan to be a bit on the ball to send that attention in the mid.
It's going to be that Sylas though. Very volatile playstyle here for AL compared to what JDG have in store, which is maybe a little bit more focused on generating some leads in the bottom lane and then getting to those team fights. Final pickup here for Breathe. Generally into Rumble, you see things like the Ornn. Maybe a little bit more aggressive of a play, though, could be in the works. But with things like this Lucian Milio, like this Sylas already proven to be volatile, it looks like another game where Breathe will be on weak side duty.
It gives you plenty of places to pay attention to. I mean, if you have Lucian Milio and you're not playing towards it, that's a big mistake in the first place. So I think this all feels natural. It will actually be Kate Lux, instead of a disengaged champion, opting to try and bully the Lucian Milio out of the lane. I am going to be focusing on what JunJia is doing on that first clear, because Vi, not really a champion level 1. Jarvan, not much of a champion level 1, slightly better than Vi, because of the ability to share that attack speed with his team. Is a very good level 2 ganker though, and with Caitlyn Lux, I could see some kind of aggressive angle to break the AL bottom lane before it has a chance to exert that pressure onto the Kate Lux. Definitely the focal point of this game.
Yeah, and especially with, you know, Rumble's going to be fine on his own, Victor's going to be fine on his own. Both have winning-ish matchups in the early game. Those can obviously turn once their respective opponents hit level 6. But for the first 5-6 minutes of this game, would love to see JunJia really get involved with this Kate Lux in the bot lane, try to snowball Gala into a level that he was not at in game number 1. Remember, he was down about 1,000 gold at the start of that first game, was eventually able to turn it around, but if you can really hone in on this bottom lane that has been a good part of JD Gaming's success throughout 2026, potentially result in some good things happening for them. Maybe close out a series sweep.
Yeah, it would seem pretty on the cards for what we've got in the draft so far. It's a very, very fragile dive comp coming out from AL. It requires them to be hitting the same person and getting those targets knocked down one by one. Really, all of the pressure is on Hope, I would say, this time around. And now we're going to have to see if he can hold it up.
Well, here we go. Back in Shenzhen, game number 2. JDG versus AL. About to get underway. I want these gyos to keep going, but again, we're seeing some weird level 1 stuff here, Melvin. It's going to be Shanks running down level 1 on the Silas. Hesiev's gone abduct, finds it on a Vampire, chunks him down to half HP. Both of these teams, namely AL, going out for these aggressive level 1s.
Big summoner lead in the AL favor, but HongQ trying to rapid push this wave, get it dead to the tower. It's going to put Shanks slightly behind in XP, but only 1 minion. Wow, very lucky of which one took the aggro there. Basically losing nothing. We do see, though, what I was expecting, JunJia going immediately to invade and split the map. Even with both of those defensive summoners down, if you let them have the range advantage and there's pressure, you still don't really get to play against the Kate Lux. Lucian not got that much threat until the level 2-3 marker, and the Milio is kind of like, he's there, but he's not going to do a lot. As with the bot lane pushed in, JunJia's in a really awkward spot of wanting to go further forward, but not really having the confidence to.
Yeah, the ward from AL does spot out JunJia going for the invade in the vertical jungle setup. However, Hope and Kael can't do much about it because they are still level 1. It's a 15 CS gap that has generated despite the level 1 that was set up by Shanks critically there on that play. Melvin did not burn a flash onto Gala or Vampire. That's going to be a very important cooldown that we'll continue to watch over these first few minutes.
Oh, absolutely. Flashless Caitlyn bot lane is absolute suffering to play. It is truly just awful because you want to be standing exactly here, and that is the most gankable place in the game on the scale of things. We do have Tarzan just matching the clear, taking away all of the top side. Does have the angle to look for a gank here. HongQ is quite far up.
And Tarzan going for the Q flash already. HongQ just ticking down, almost able to fall. But he will actually be able to survive at that point. Nice job from him. But nice play early from Tarzan in this second game.
Bit of a whiff to not secure the kill there is going to put a lot of just pressure back onto AL, knowing that there's no Flash Vi to be afraid of. Again, gives more breathing room over to the JD bot lane because, I mean, a Flash Vi Q is very different to a Vi Q. You can net a Vi Q quite easily. You can Lux bind a Vi Q. Now there's no funky outplay potential from Tarzan. That's a big game record, oh my.
Yeah, 600. Shout out to Hope. I mean, this guy's had a very interesting career. Remember, he started off his journey actually on, you know, a couple of teams that really made his name known on JD Gaming, actually, back in 2021, making it 2 Worlds, and then kind of getting dropped for Ruler, which is expected. because ruler is ruler. But then perhaps had a bit of a tough time getting back into the swing of things, eventually finding himself onto AL with that original core of him, Shanks, and Kael. They made it all the way to top 6 in 2024 with Zika in the top lane. Then they brought in Flandre and Tarzan, made their big run all the way up to a championship. And Hope has really put himself back on the map, maybe struggling a little bit last split, but he's been a very solid AD carry throughout the last 5 years, a staple in the LPL at that bot lane position.
Well, those versatile players is happy to go forward on stuff like the Lucian or play a bit more reserved. And it does play wonders when you pair it with Kael, who is also one of those flexible masters of the role.
Fortunately for him, down 15 CS. Actually had to take a back early in this laning phase as well, which is going to continuously put him further behind, both in gold and experience. As Gala and Vampire have had the better of this 2v2 so far. Which again, bit of a difference from what we saw in that last game. Love to see JDG continue to try to funnel this bottom lane duo. Gala and Vampire, if they can get ahead, the rest of the team will be in a really good position once we get to team fights.
And I'll counter that by basically saying the same thing but differently. If they get behind, it's not good. It's really not good.
Sure,
you don't want to be running Lux Kate and not having them at an advantage.
Ooh, Tarzan. Opportunity to make something happen here. They go on to Vampire. He still has his flash, but is immediately followed up by Hope, who lands the piercing light. And that's first blood for anyone's legend. Gala the next target. Another Vault Breaker comes through, but Gala will be able to flash away. As AL get on the board, finally able to punish this bot lane that was pushed so far forward the first 5 minutes.
An absolutely divine flash from Hope over the light binding, as now Tarzan is potentially going to get aggressed on here by the mid jungle.
Flag and drag here for JunJia, neither jungler level 6, but this grub, or this crab I should say, would get them closer to doing so. Stolen away, Cataclysm comes through from Shanks, and they're gonna funnel in all the damage onto HongQ. It's 2-0 again for anyone's legend. Tarzan will live with less than 100 HP, as the rest of his team forces JunJia to flash away.
The threat of Hope cancelling the recall to come back in there is enough.
Oh, he almost got it.
Was that Scorched If? I think that was Scorched.
I think so, yeah.
Well, that's unfortunate. Using the barrier to try and guarantee the reset and then having it cancelled is a very, very worst case scenario. Should allow Gala to knock that plate down. Yeah, he'll get that plate pretty reasonably, as it also unlocks JunJia to aggro onto the dragon.
Good start here for this anyone's legend composition, specifically Tarzan, but it's still going to come at the cost of this bottom side. Still being in a good position for JD Gaming overall. JunJia securing that first dragon, hitting level 6 first. And more plates continuing to fall. It turns out, even though you get a kill here for Hope, you are still going to be the beta in this lane, at least for the moment, as Gala and Vampire continuing to rain down hell onto this tier 1 tower.
Yeah, I'll remind the audience of the champ select discussion, and if you're picking the Ornn to have a weak side top lane, then you need to be playing quite heavily through the bot lane to accelerate the Lucian Milio. That's not really been allowed. JDG have done a good job of denying that with JunJia's initial clear and then just constantly keeping the pressure up. And despite that big fight in the river, like you said, there's still basically equal gold between the bot laners. By the time that Gala gets back, it's going to be all but negligible. We do have the grubs spawning in 20, which it looks like AL is going to be on the back foot for. We do have JDG last second pivoting Gala up to this top lane. And I think the grubs, when you have a Caitlyn Lux, absolutely essential to try and pick up. If you can't get 2 of them, it really does mute a lot of that power. It's the same thing as not having it on the Ziggs in the previous game. You could see it meant that when we had Hope get to a tower on the Ziggs, he just wasn't able to kill it. The Caitlyn is a very similar thing. If you need to be rotating this Kate around, oh my god.
Almost got that one stolen away, but Tarzan still going to have his share of this one. At least JD Gaming get one. It's not going to result in both of them going down.
Yeah, it's not good. That's not great.
Now the question is, what is going to happen here is for AL, who are now stuck in the pit, maybe forced to fight their way out. There's a cease and desist. It goes on to JunJia. Call the Forge God. Gonna knock up two. Cancelled by JunJia as he jumps over the Cataclysm, but he's going to die all the same. First kill going over to anyone's Legend. Still HongQ having a lot of damage, though, with this Arcane Storm. There is the ulti from Gala. Ace in the hole, chunking Kael down to 100 HP. Won't be able to find any more, though, as AL once again come out with a win.
Wow, yeah, that is a massive win from AL, denying the little grubby spawn, and I mean, securing it for yourself, but in all honesty, AL's not going to be hitting turrets this game unless they're killing the turret in most situations, so not going to complain with denying that from the Caitlyn and getting out like bandits with a kill in the pocket, really leveraging the just sheer tankiness of Breathe when it comes to standing there face tanking, I think 2 full rotations of HongQ plus the entire Arcane Storm. That is the benefit of being a tank top lane when you are against double AP solo lanes, and one-shotting JunJia at the start of it. I mean, what were you supposed to do as JDG?
So, weird situation for JDG Gaming because they peeled away to try and, you know, not die in an all-out scrap for the grubs. And then after AL took the grubs, they were like, actually, maybe we do want to fight because they saw Tarzan and Breathe maybe stuck in the pit, but it seemed like anyone's Legend happy enough to just continue to go for that play. And it meant that they now get Breathe on the board here. Really going to make Xiaoxu's job even harder to try to take down the Ornn, as he already hasn't been able to do so. And now opening up the rest of the map, as well as Tarzan could be looking for a play here on HongQ again. Also have that Dragon spawning in 1 minute and 30 seconds. That has been JDG's stronger area of the map still, as the bot lane continuing to press their lead.
And taking control of the area, there is the potential for a flank TP. That one ward behind the Dragon Pit is available for Breathe. I do think, however, AL are going to find more success front to backing rather than going for flanks with the Ornn, because dashing into Victor right now is okay because HongQ doesn't have a first item, but after he starts to get a bit more gold in the pocket, after Gala gets to that first item, then it becomes quite intimidating to dash into these champions. You can get one shot quite quickly. We don't want a double lift experience.
You know what? That hurt a little bit, but that's okay. I'm gonna... It's okay.
Don't worry.
You know what?
I'm from Europe. You guys got Leon. Like, it went well.
Yeah, I know. We've been trashing on Europe for the last like 3 weeks. You deserve a little bit of a shot back. Fair enough. Anyway, yeah, HongQ's going to be strong later in this game. Really, wow, really is the same 2 champions. I'm just looking at it now. Sorry.
Foreshadowing is an excellent literary device, as JunJia might figure out from that one that there's a ward in the bush. Not going to be making a play here, and it does mean that AL know that he is on the exact opposite side of the map to do this bot.
Yeah, throws out the calling. Actually not doing a lot of damage right now.
Yeah.
Is only the Caulfields in terms of attack damage right now for Hope in itemization. Not going to be able to chunk Vampire out too much. Will be both ultimates traded here in the mid lane, as well as we have that Dragon spawn in the bottom lane. See the prioritization here for AL to try to use those ultimate abilities to get push in both mid and bot to try to fight around this Dragon, but it has come to no avail, as once again the push comes through from the Caitlyn Lux.
We do have to keep an eye on Shanks. He has half health on the Silas, but with Tarzan can definitely do some skirmish nonsense here. HongQ, it's really, really difficult for him to approach. Otherwise he'll just get turned on, as now JDG's boxed in.
Yeah, no ulti here for Hope, remember, and now JunJia in melee range essentially lands that flagging drag, but the dive going forward onto JD Gaming instead. Gala and Vampire are annihilated. The hot pot combo comes in and forces Shanks down very low. Xiaoxu flashing in, he overheats, but he's not able to find a single kill. It's 5 members of anyone's Legend collapsing upon the Dragon as they go 4 for nothing.
Will it blend? No, they will not. AL completely tear apart the JDG flank and would just walk away with it. Honestly, that was just domination. I can't wait for the replay of that one, because every single thing that conceivably could go well went well. HongQ, as stated, couldn't approach this play. Tarzan gets the Q onto the Caitlyn and then the ult onto the Lux, which knocks back Caitlyn as well, just one-shotting both bot lanes. And by the time that Xiaoxu joins the play, he's already in enemy lines, has only the choices of running away or trying to get a return kill, and doesn't even get that. Really nice from the AL squad to protect Hope. Very nice message behind it.
Oh, and now they're going in for Gala as well. You remember what you said, Melvin. Once the Caitlyn starts to fall behind, it's not going to end up turning well for your team and anyone's legend. Really making note of that right now. They're up 8 kills and 2,000 gold at the 14-minute mark.
Yeah, I played a lot of Caitlyn games, and at this point, Gala's he's having bad thoughts. It's not a fun time being the Caitlyn against a pretty decently ahead dive pair. Oh, trying his best.
Now all of a sudden, with that Essence Reaver, this Lucian's doing a little bit more damage, forces HongQ back. And man, AL really just blowing the game open with that last fight. Obviously,
like
there's still good team fight abilities and skills for JDG, but with the Caitlyn lane, all of a sudden being even, it's going to be much harder to play out these 5v5s.
It's like you look at the scoreboard and you see 8-0, and then you look at the gold and it's only 2k at this point. Majority of the gold lead is on to Tarzan. Now, having a Vi who is quite survivable is a incredible nuisance for the Caitlyn and the Victor. If you aren't one-shotting the Vi when they go in, it's just one extra problem you have to deal with. That means you can't turn around and one-shot the Lucian. Because you saw there, HongQ on his own did a majority of Hope's health bar without even having a fully completed first item. And that's kind of a weird line you have to be able to weave on Lucian in these fights. You have to eat up a lot of the aggro, but make sure that you are low enough that they want to focus you, but not low enough that you actually are in threat range. Having Kael with that melee ultimate should be enough to buy the buffer room, given the lead the team has. Let's really go focus on whether Tarzan finds that right target and if Breed is in range to follow up.
Is anyone's legend going to try to continue to snowball their lead now around that Rift Herald? But JunJia still hunting, still aggressive on this Jarvan, though it hasn't resulted in any kills. Maybe over-positioned here, as now the cease and desist going to come forward, canceled by the Cataclysm, but again, forces JunJia forward. Equalizer not doing a whole lot, and it's now Tarzan will shift his attention over to Xiaoxu. He flashes in to make the play, and will survive after taking the kill. Ace in the hole going to get blocked by Kael, and Shanks looking to continue the engage. Flag and drag barely able to allow JunJia to escape, but AL find yet another kill and go up 9-0 with the Herald up next.
Tell you what, that's what 29 months of synergy will do to a team. Tarzan in a dangerous spot there, but calling the play, everybody collapses to turn around and one-shot the Rumble, which enables you to get this Rift Herald off the back of that. Like, just incredibly winning at the end of it. And what really is going to happen in response on the map? Absolutely nothing. You can't do anything as JDG here.
I like how you said the synergy on that play when Breathe was on the bottom side, just doing nothing.
Precisely.
That's pretty good. Herald secured here by AL as well. HongQ looking to make a play onto Shanks, but shouldn't be able to chase him down. AL feel good at this point, obviously. The gold lead's still only 2,500 though. That'll clearly start to progress as we get more Orin upgrades and things like that, once the towers start to fall down with the help of the Herald. But HongQ is still in a good spot. You still have this Jarvan Rumble combination. It just seems like the 5v5s haven't worked out in terms of JDG finding a good angle for them to take a full-on fight.
And as far as like the miracle angles that JDG are going to look for to take those full-on fights, it's truly going to be getting the fight in a choke point and having Xiaoxu layer an amazing equalizer. Because HongQ and Gala can do some damage right now, but the Caitlyn is in a bit of a trough. Until she gets to that 3-item point, she's not going to be remotely as scary as Hope on the Lucian. And so we do need, if JDG are going to take this to a 2-0 and come back in this game, they need to kind of just slow it down, probably sack a dragon or two, and then at best maybe look to play on Breathe in the side lane.
Playing on this Ornn, though, going to continue to be more and more difficult, as he already has his Canik record, looking for the Jock Show next. Maybe HongQ going to be the bearer of bad news onto that one. there's that play out in the mid lane that you were asking for. Don't know if they have the damage, though. There's the equalizer, or sorry, not the equalizer, the Cataclysm coming out from JunJia, still not resulting in anything. They're going to look to continue the chase, though, as Xiaoxu now enters the fight, flashes forward, flagging grab gets cancelled by the volcanic pillar, but it's not going to matter. Still, the kill eventually goes the way of JD Gaming, but it's going to come at the cost of a lot being burned in the mid lane. The Rift Herald has been popped. Should be one tower, maybe even parts of a second.
I mean, that is a desperation play through and through. AL
Empire?
knowing exactly how to punish, securing that mid-tier 1, chunking out the mid-tier 2. They can rotate straight over to this dragon. You know that JDG just burnt so many important tools there. It's going to be quite sketchy to run up and contest.
Unless. Does a lot of damage here onto Shanks, though. Forces the Proto Belt away. He had his flash, but Shanks also did. Still should be this dragon started up by anyone's legend, but perhaps maybe a little bit disincentivized with Shanks being low. Nope, should still be. That Drake taken down. It's Ocean. Soul not going to be super impactful, but Soul important all the same, as AL get one step closer to it.
I mean, if you manage to get to Soul at this point, then by the time Breathe gets there, he's going to be nigh unkillable. He's just going to stack up so many resistances at that point. And he does a pretty good job of making this play last as long as possible. Pushes his way out of the tower there to try and get the knock up and trade some damage. And he's just walked the entire way home. So many tools committed though, and oh my god, that volcanic rupture was just beautiful to look at, honestly. Just beautiful to look at. It made me want him to live. That was truly like, yeah, Breathe, you've earned this. You should have got out there. No, that's rubbish.
Sometimes life ain't fair, man. It's been for Breathe a lot here in this game. This series, he's been just the weak side guy on an island. Hey, just soak up waves for us. Be that tank. Be that player that can maybe be helpful for us later. Wasn't very helpful for them in Game 1. In Game 2, certainly can provide that value. As you can see, the upgraded Rookrun in his inventory right now. That means that the rest of the ornaments are on their way soon.
Yeah, just hit over to that level 14 off of the next wave, and then who is getting those early upgrades. I imagine you probably want to leave Hope until later when he's got that Infinity Edge in inventory. So it's just about maximizing those stats. Something like the seashells for Shanks would be quite big.
That, or maybe try to snowball Tarzan even further with an upgraded Sundered Sky. I think either option would be good. Gold lead surprisingly still low at this point. You can see the win probability on the bottom of your screen as well, according to our JD bot down there, who's gotten a bit of an upgrade or a bit of a change in model from last split.
Bring back Eyelids, Crank.
Still puts them in a pretty good spot for JD Gaming to maybe come back. We'll see if that ends up happening here on this skirmish in the mid lane, but JunJia already taken very low, so will go down to the likes of Hope. And it's
Baron.
a 1-for-0 already, with the Baron now available and no jungler available for JDG.
There is Arcane Storm, there is Equalizer. It's not unplayable for JDG, but they caught, for just a moment, they saw Shanks going for a walk around the side. Vampire barely catching that, gives away the fact that AL isn't looking to start it right now, they're just looking to have you run into them. And nothing. We fall into a point where AL's saying, nope, we're going to rely on dragon stacking. JunJia's not going to have a GA for the foreseeable future, so we can continue to rely on him being the one that has to walk up, send all the cooldowns into him, and then rinse repeat.
Hey, you know what? One kill, not the worst thing to give up for JDG, as it turns out it doesn't result in that Baron going down, but it just feels more and more hopeless for them at this point in the game. You know, that was a fight they were looking for, and it just results in their jungler basically dying for free. Now Shanks is going to have the better hand here in the mid lane against HongQ. He flashes forward for the Kingslayer, looking for the solo kill underneath the top lane tier 1. Nicely done by Shanks to make it 11-1 for AL.
Crispy clean. Trading the flashes there means that Victor is now a very, very killable target, particularly for the Vi, as the fights will likely unfold around the dragon next. As Shanks going to happily reward himself with some top lane plates. Might even end up upgrading that Medjai's if he wants to put the Knight cosplay on for a bit. And, I mean, I think he's in good stead to do so at the moment. When you're 11-1 as a team, I feel like you can be confident that you'll get that last stack to get the move speed boost. We'll have to see, though, how JDG try and respond with the resets coming out from AL here. Do you attempt to threaten a Baron when they go over to the Dragon? I'm going to assume this is just, yep, just a big chain hits, and then he probably just does it again. Nice proto belt outside of the Victor W to avoid getting stunned up. He's going to be able to just walk away very happily for Shanks.
It's been a fun back and forth between our mid laners so far today. You know, I think everyone can agree we know who the best mid laner in the LPL is. He's going to play next series, right? And he's not Harry. But battle for second is really up for grabs between a number of players, but I think really when people are thinking about it, it's HongQ, it's Shanks, and then you throw Cream in there as well, who had a really great split 2 on top esports. And so always fun to see these two players face off against each other. I think Shanks maybe slumping a little bit back in the playoff bracket. But HongQ, you can make the argument for some inconsistencies in his own right. So a lot of opportunities for them to both make their mark here in split 3 to try to send their team to a world championship. JDG actually going to get their first hand at a Dragon. AL, though, positioning well for a fight.
Ready for this Ornn ultimate. He's got such a good lineup here.
Nice trap line, but not going to matter too much as Breathe can just walk over it. Already the Dragon at 3,000 HP. You see the Vi on a control ward, but not going to matter. He dashes in. It's at 2,000 HP. JunJia gets cancelled by the Ultra Mega Fire Kick, and that means that the Dragon will get secured by AL. Tarzan and Shanks diving onto the back line. As Gala, it'll go down. Vampire next, but the dive on the other side going to benefit JDG. It'll end up being a 1 for 2. Right now, it is JD Gaming who actually have the advantage at this point. Both bot lane members from AL died in the scrap, the like of JunJia and Xiaoxu, and it means they actually end up with the numbers advantage.
Oh, with Gala dead, JDG really don't want to look for the Baron right now, but they might be able to kill Shanks. Nope, he's gone.
Yep, no crowd control for Xiaoxu. Means
Two
that
TPs,
it will
though.
be Shanks getting on out. Yes, will make it difficult for anyone's legend to try to fight for a Baron, and again, you see the kill score at this point. That gold lead isn't really getting much larger. The soul will help, right, Melvin, but it's not necessarily a done deal just yet.
No, and that's part of the thing that changed at the start of this season. Between Crystalline Overgrowth and some other just changes to how minion waves spawn, the speed of them, you can really equalize a game where you're behind, and if the enemy team who's ahead doesn't accelerate, you can't just lose your lead. Like, it just falls away. Breathe with the, I think it's a field goal. I don't do sports, but yeah, field goal will call it.
You got
it. Go. Yeah, nice. I know what I'm talking about. Does not end up getting any of the knockup, and it means that we just have Hope getting completely dived on the back line as the Lucian. It does get responded with the AL divers taking out Gala, and that means neither team is comfortable to look at Baron by the end of it. But now, with it being the only objective on the table for 3 minutes, I think we're very comfortably at the point in the game where it should be a real threat, especially considering both of AL's solo laners are without teleport. I think JDG can reasonably look for a hard play and then force the enemy team to approach them at Baron if they want to, if they don't want to wait until the next Dragon to have that final team fight.
All of a sudden, look at this! Look at the gold graph on the bottom of your screen. Xiaoxu with those 2 kills, one of them being a shutdown that he picked up in that last fight. Now 2k gold over Breathe. The story much like we saw in game number 1. Now it's going to be much more on to Xiaoxu with the rest of his team not in as good of a position to really take the reins here in the next few fights. Get JDG back into this one. Have his work cut out for him though, as the rest of AL still a very scary sight. No Baron taken just yet, but now AL just going to make sure they are in a good position to fight for the soul in 2 minutes. Shanks actually dashes forward. Oh, he goes for the ultimate. On to Gala. The Cataclysm plus the call. The Forge God from downtown going to be able to secure the JDG AD carry.
Crazy dive angle. AL knowing that they are at the disadvantage on the TP front, so they force the play themselves and just completely take away the agency from JDG to do anything.
I'm surprised that ended up working. I gotta go back and check the vision here. Speaking of, it looks like Vampire was looking for a little bit too much vision there. He burns the flash too. An unlucky timer there as Tarzan gets another one.
Hold up.
As JD Gaming looking to make a response on the other side of the map and force Shanks into a 2v1. He hijacks the equalizer, looks for a play, ends up popping the hourglass, but it's not going to be enough. He goes forward. He finds a trade kill onto the Rumble, but it'll eventually get taken down by HongQ. The 1-for-1 from Shanks, though, buys enough time for anyone's legend to finally go up to the top side of the map and claim their first Baron Nashor of the season.
And you can see what Xiaoxu's thought process was there. I have teleport, I can save my ultimate here, and then TP over and force them off the Baron. But by holding it, it gives Shanks the window to get the kill, trading the 1-for-1 like you said, and completely denying any threat over to the AL Baron. With this on the table, and the Dragon Soul spawning soon for them, all of the agency is with the AL divers. Where do they want to play now? Do you want to have Breathe just stand in a side lane and make it so that JDG has to split? Or do you want to just walk it down and use the Baron stats to try and win this fight? Ocean Soul again, we said it earlier for Breathe, makes him nigh unkillable. At this point, pretty good for Tarzan and Shanks too.
AL can really try to put that icing on top of the cake with the help of this dragon. Last dragon fight, though, didn't fully go their way. JDG, again, remember, we're able to get a 2-for-1 off of that play. Both of those kills on to Xiaoxu. HongQ now has a death cap as well. Could still be an interesting fight to watch. Both teams want to dive their respective backlines. Which backline will be able to hold on the longest? Dragon started up. It will be Soul here for anyone's legend, as already Hope is taken down very low with the help of the Arcane Storm. And Breathe has just dashed in the middle of the entire enemy team. Forced to flash away. He's going to go down right as he issues the call. The Forge God, a shutdown, finds the way of Xiaoxu. And they're going to continue to look for the play. Two-man flag and drag comes through from JunJia. They take down Shanks. Tarzan goes into Guardian Angel. And Kael and Hope are now on the run. Goes the buy, and down he goes once again. Dragon taken, Soul denied. It's JDG stay alive.
But the Baron is already dead because it's on AL's sleeves right now. And it means that what can you really get off the back of that? Maybe a mid-tier 1 tower? I mean, denying the Soul is big, but you're going to be left with just scraps. It is, though, equalizing the tempo of this game.
A 10-0 kill lead, not going to be enough for anyone's legend to secure a Game 3, at least just yet. JD came in clawing their way back in, and we are at an even gold position 30 minutes into this game.
Alright, let's see the replay of how on earth JDG managed this, because Breathe whiffs the knock-up here, and simply put, is kind of just in no man's land alone. And then it panics Tarzan. He has to go in and try and get something off the back of it. But once they realize it's all completely cooked, Shanks and Tarzan back off to try and one-shot HongQ. But an amazing stopwatch does all it needs to. And the bot lane of AL's just been standing off to the side, chunked out, because they haven't had a front line to play the fight. They simply just didn't get to play that team fight. And if you don't have the Lucian pumping damage, you simply don't have enough to get through the JDG comp. Like, it's just not there.
Yeah, Hope being at half HP even before the fight started makes it even harder for that fight to go AL's way. Especially, of course, when Breathe just kind of sends it into the full enemy team before the rest of his team ended up being ready. Some of those growing pains we might see with a new addition to this AL roster. A roster that had stuck together for so long up until today. Of course, we still have Flandre as part of that 6-man, but Breathe seems to be a big part of that puzzle that AL are trying to solve going into Split 3, and so far hasn't necessarily been the easiest start.
That's definitely putting it lightly. It was a tough game where AL were running it for a lot and then just dropped the tempo entirely in that first matchup. This time around, I mean, there was a ridiculous lead. You said it. It was 10-0 at one point. Like, the scoreboard looked like in any other moment you would just expect the game to be ended. Didn't matter. Just didn't matter. AL have not been able to break through JDG's resolve. And at this point, the Caitlyn is up to 3.5 items. She outranges the Lucian by quite a bit. And even with the ornament in pocket, if you run forward and get double headshot, it's lights out. There's no Emilio shield that's going to keep you safe from that. You really do need to play super respectfully, but if you have to play respectfully, you can't pump the damage into these skirmishes that JDG have.
AL still feeling confident enough to push it down here on the top side of the map, with Xiaoxu balancing things out down bottom. Another thing I just want to point out here, correct me if I'm wrong on this here, Melvin. Actually, hold on, we're going to have to hold that thought as JunJia's getting targeted.
No, you're good, you're good.
The Ord upgrades here from Breed. I'm looking at Shanks, I'm looking at Hope. It's on the rocket belt for Shanks instead of a potential death cap coming up next. And it's on the quick blades or the flicker blades for Hope instead of the IE.
Yeah.
That feels to me like a bit of a misutilization of that resource.
100%. They put it on Hope first, and I was kind of just passively looking at it, shaking my head, because when you know your ADC is getting IE, you can hold off to upgrade one person's item late. 2 if you're behind, but Breathe at least was on XP parity the whole game, so you can either hold off for Shanks to get a death cap, or for Hope to get an IE. He didn't either. Does mean that they are missing out on some of those extra stats. Is it enough to push them over the edge right now? I would say not, but every little bit matters, and it is another one of those synergy things, as we do have Baron spawning in 14, Dragon up in a minute. I think now we should review the items since we're already talking about them. It's a very tanky Ornn. We have Rocket Belt, Stopwatch, but no. Oh, he does have Rabadons. It's just loaded. Shanks does have that, so he is going to hit like a truck. Lucian, no notable active items. And then we pan over to the other side. There is Zhonya's for Victor, Zhonya's for Rumble. Abyssal Mask, really funky adaptation from JunJia. I do quite like that this game. Yeah, but importantly, all of the summoners are up. This is going to be explosive.
And it looks like not a fight around the Baron, but instead this potential Soul Dragon again might not be easy for AL to take. That was already Tarzan as at half HP, hit up by the final spark. Call the Forge God lands on the Xiaoxu, but there's no follow-up as the Arcane Storm forces AL back. No cooldowns there for this dragon that still has not spawned. AL now have push in the mid lane and will force JDG to eventually respond.
They have the push, but they don't have the Ornhorn, so their main threat
is in goes a flash. Tarzan looking for the backline, finds the cease and desist onto Gala, and Shanks is there to follow it up. It's a double kill for the Silas, and Xiaoxu's not able to do enough on the backline. A triple kill for Shanks. 2 members still up. A quadra kill. They're going to give it over. A pentakill in the first series of Split 3 for Shanks on his Silas pick. He teleports into the mid lane and will force a decider here in our opening series.
Done and dusted. Right there, the entire game explodes. The thing that AL could not get done in the first is done in the second, taking us to an all-important match point. Closest they have been to beating JDG since Split 1. Essential work here from the man in the mid lane from AL. Whoa. That was out of nowhere.
Tarzan with the alley, Shanks with the oop, dunks down JD Gaming with his first competitive pentakill in the LPL. Evens up our series at 1-1. What a way to open up our day here, our second day of split number 3.
And that was so narrow, that dive there, because I saw that Shanks went around the side and Vampire actually walked back in to body block the Silas chains to keep Gala alive for a little bit longer. But between Tarzan and then stealing the Jarvan ultimate, it was enough to take the ADC out. And then we saw on the other side, it's just 2 AP boys sat in Zhonya's while the entire team is dead around them. So, AL, excellent threat evaluation. And maybe it means that game 1 and the fact they weren't able to push the ticket over was the exception to the rule, because they did find the angle this time around and were as decisive as ever. What we expected from this long-standing AL roster.
That was a fun game to watch. It seemed like AL just had it in the bag, and then JDG slowly but surely finding angles back in. Remember, it was that first dragon. It was that dragon fight that really evened up the game, made things very close, and then Shanks shut the door down. I'm excited to watch back that last team fight because there was a lot of things that ended up very close to swinging the other way. Obviously, you had Xiaoxu and JunJia diving onto AL's backline. They were able to stay alive for just a little bit longer. And then, specifically Tarzan on this buy. The cease and desist, just the vision to see that through an entire line of traps. He flashes forward, barely is able to finalize the channel of the ultimate knockdown before his Guardian Angel gets procced. And that alone, knowing that he's going to die, but allowing for Shanks to dive in and do the rest of the work was just brilliant to watch.
And overall, JDG just did more damage that game. There was obviously an Ornn that they were hitting, so some of those numbers are going to be a bit inflated, but I mean, at the end of the day, JDG did drag it back from the brink, and it looked competitive, but AL finally able to get that death blow in at the end there. And one hell of a blow it was, as this kind of team fight here was where we see the reason for the Jarvan into the Vi as a theory, but in practice, it never really got to do a lot. Like, yes, you would cancel out the Vi ult, but then you would still be landed on top of the enemy team and killed. And with the dual dive of the Vi and the Sylas, AL just accelerated so well this time around. It felt like what they wanted to do in the first game, but they actually actioned upon it this time around.
Just play the team fights better. That's something that AL has always been known to be able to do. Not always, you know, with Breathe as their top laner. I think a lot of the time Flandre really was able to excel in these team fights, but it's also Tarzan and Shanks picking up a lot of that weight. Kael had a big fight here as well to try to keep hope alive. And at the end of the day, results in AL being able to hold on even after bleeding slowly and slowly throughout that mid to late game.
It gives us some hope for Game 3 being competitive. Because with it going 1-1 in such weird fashion, it feels like AL are generally quite good at dictating the pace of the game. It's just whenever they lose that confidence or don't feel like they can push for the win, JDG are very good at knowing, okay, let's stabilize this. Let's find our angle to come back into it. Let's find a miracle fight where we pick up a couple shutdowns, get our rumble to 3 items, and suddenly it doesn't look done and dusted anymore. And this fight in particular, where it's just counter dive on counter dive, it really looked like AL had fumbled what was an incredible lead to this point.
And that would have been just, I mean, just a difference in one team fight going one way or the other. If JDG end up winning this series in this game, going for that 2-0, I think a lot of people would start to be questioning what AL have up their sleeves. Here's that ultimate again by Tarzan, able to find it onto Gala right as the Guardian Angel gets popped, and then the stolen away Arcane Storm from Shanks just does infinite damage, and Hope's able to survive the dive from Xiaoxu and HongQ as well. But yeah, I mean, we'd be asking a lot of questions about AL if they got swept in this one. Thankfully for them, we're going to play another game of League of Legends.
I mean, high key, I thought it had to be a stolen Jarvan ult because it perfectly pushed Gala right back into melee range of the Sylas. So seeing there was not a stolen Jarvan ult is not fabulous. And as for where the heck the MVP goes this game, I wonder if it's going to be the guy with the pentakill or literally anybody else.
I think we have a good guess at this point. Show me Shanks! There he is. Shout out to him.
Is it
I believe the graphic there on the bottom of your screen as the game ended. First competitive pentakill in Tier 1. We'll confirm that. Make sure that ends up being true. But a shout out to him. Player, again, also has had a bit of a journey of his own, trying to turn things around and make a name for himself here, send his team back to Worlds.
Yeah, and it is a pretty high mountain to climb for, but I mean, you know, we saw that T1 can lose internationals to LPL teams. We knew it could happen at MSI, but we hadn't seen it in a hot minute. So maybe there's some hope if we can get some of these teams up to Worlds again, get a bit more competitive instead of having to go to 5 games and then feel that sorrow in our stomachs at the end of it.
Oh, don't remind me. Oh, gosh. Well, it's, hey, both of these teams have Worlds on their minds going into this Split 3 as we hit our first Game 3 of Split 3 between JD Gaming and Anyone's Legend. We'll see who ends up winning their first series of the Split when we return from a break here on LPL English.